Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada,
Thank you, Mataji, for wonderful kirtan. So, as I said earlier, Mukta Sangha Das Prabhu will not be available today. He'll be joining, but he's outside, he's driving, so he will not be active. And so, we will start with our, the lecture session. So, I see Ajit Krishna Prabhu is already joined. So, thank you very much for the kirtan. I will hand over to Ajit Krishna Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for joining. So please take over the call and continue as usual. You take the class from there. So thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, and all
Hare Krishna.
the nice kirtan. The kids did such a nice, wonderful kirtan as always. Very, very inspiring and nice. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Prabhupada. Yeah. Okay, so we had actually the last couple of times there was last week because of Rath Yatra we didn't do the class, and the class before that we had actually discussed the pastimes of Lord Vamandev because it was the appearance of Lord Vamandev. So we'll continue from where we had left off, which was basically chapter 2, chapter 3. We had read through text 25. Is that right, Mataji? 325?
Yes, Prabhuji.
All right. So basically, we had read about, or we had discussed that in these verses leading up to 325, Krishna is encouraging Arjuna to perform duties for the sake of leading the people. He said, otherwise, whatever example leader sets, the common people will follow. So if the example that is set is not the right example, in other words, if people don't perform their duties, if the leaders of society don't perform their duties, then others will also not perform their duties. And that is why he encouraged Arjuna to perform his duty for the sake of leading people on the right path. So that was 225, and we had done the recap also last time. So, sorry, did you say something?
Prabhuji, sorry for interrupting. What are the verses for today?
So today we'll start from chapter 3, verse 26.
Okay, Prabhuji.
So we'll read 26, 27, 28. So All right. So I think let's start with the reading. Would you like to go ahead, Prabhu, first? Is that Mukunda Krishna, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Go ahead. 326, Prabhu.
26.
Okay.
26.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Very
Na
nice.
बुद्धि भेदं जनेयद् अज्ञानां कर्म संगिनाम्
Na buddhi bedam janaye
अज्ञानां कर्म संगिनाम्
ajnanam karma sanginam
योषयेत् सर्वकर्माणि
joshayet sarva karmani
विद्वान् युक्तः समाचरन्.
vidvan yukta samacharan.
Translation: so as not to disrupt the minds of ignorant men attached to the fruitive results of prescribed duties, a learned person should not induce them to stop work. Rather, by working in the spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sorts of activities for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness. Jai Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Is Pradna Mataji there, Prabhu?
Yes. Did you say Prajna? Yes, Prabhuji. Prajna can read. 327.
Prakrite krimanani
Prakrate kriya manani
gunai karmani sarvashva
gune karmani sarva
ahankara vimutatma
Ahankara
Atma
vimohatma
kartahamiti manyate.
kartaranyate.
The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. Hare Krishna Bhakti.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. And text 28. Tyaguji.
Yes, Ji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Text 28, please.
Tattva vittu mahabaho
Tattva vittu mahabaho
guna karma vibhagayaho
guna karma vibhagayo
guna gunesu vartanta
tanta
iti matvana sajate.
iti matvana sajjate.
Translation G. One who is in knowledge of the absolute truth, O mighty armed, does not engage himself in the senses and sense gratification, knowing well the differences between work in devotion and work for fruitive results. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you.
29. Would somebody like to read that?
Can read, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Prakriter guna samudha
Prakriter guna samudha
sajjante guna karmashu
sajjante guna karmashu
tan akritsna vido mandan
Tana Krishna vidu mandan
kritsna vinna vichalayet.
Krishna minna
Bewildered by the modes of material nature, the ignorant fully engage themselves in material activities and become attached. But the wise should not unsettle them, although these duties are inferior due to the performer's lack of knowledge. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So can we go back to 26? please, Prabhu. So, Narasimhan Prabhu, want to read 26, please?
Hare Krishna, yes, Prabhuji. न बुद्धि भेदम जनयेद
न बुद्धिभेदं
Na buddhi
Janayet
अज्ञानाम कर्म संगिनाम
Ajnanam karma
Karma
sangina
Sanginam
जोषयेत सर्व कर्माणि
Joshayet sarva
sarva
karmani
Karmani
विद्वान युक्त समाचरन्
vidvan
Vidvan
yukta
Yukta
समाचरन्.
Samacharan.
अरे अपना म्यूट करना
Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
So as not to disrupt the minds of ignorant men attached to the fruitive results of prescribed duties, a learned person should not induce them to stop work. Rather, by working in the spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sorts of activities for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Hari bol, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Anybody else?
I'll
like-
read through this text number 27.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Prakirte kriyamani
Prakate kriya manani
guna karmani sarvasaha
te karmani sarvasaha
ahankara vibhudatma
ankara vimud atma
kartaraham iti manyate.
kartaham iti
In
manyate.
translation by His Divine Grace Sabhachana Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The
Jai.
spiritual bewildered by the influence of false ego thinks himself the doer of the activity that are in the factually carried out by the three modes of material nature. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Would somebody like to read 28?
तत्त्ववित्तु महाबाहो
Tattvavittu mahabaho
गुणकर्म विभाग्यव्यो
guna karma vibhagayo
गुणागुणेषु वर्तन्त
guna guneshu vartanta
इति मत्वा न सज्जते.
iti matvana sajjate.
Krishna. One who is in knowledge of the absolute truth, O mighty arm, does not engage himself in the senses and sense gratification, knowing well the differences between work in devotion and work for fruitive results. Hare Krishna, thank you.
Hare Krishna. Mataji. So, last verse, one last. Anybody else left? Somebody would like to read?
I'll read Ji.
Okay, then.
Prakrita guna sammadu da
Prakritir guna sammudha
sajante guna karmasu
sajante guna karmasu
tana kritsna vidamandan
Kana kritsana vido mandan
Krishna vina vichalaya.
kritsana vinna vichare.
Translation. Bewildered by the modes of material nature, the ignorant fully engage themselves in material activities and become attached. But the wise should not unsettle them, although these duties are inferior due to the performer's lack of knowledge. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. All right. So, thank you all very much for the reading. And so we'll start the invocation prayers and then we can start the discussion. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Umilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamanam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, chapter 3, text 26, 27, and 28, and 29. So, 4 verses we are discussing. So, in 26, Krishna says, Na buddhi bedam janayed agyanam karma sanginam joshayet sarva karmani vidvan yukta samacharan. So Krishna says to Arjuna in the translation that so as not to disrupt the minds of ignorant men attached to the fruitive results of prescribed duties, a learned person should not induce them to stop work. So what kind of work are we talking about here? The work that is being referred to are the duties as prescribed in the Vedas. So many of them are fruitive activities, meaning, sometimes some fasting is recommended, that if you perform such and such fast on such and such date, you will get this benefit or that benefit. So most of us, we say, okay, this is very nice. We will observe the fast and therefore get the benefit. And so Krishna is saying that, there are two different levels of activity. A person who is desirous of material benefits may perform religious activities, religious ceremonies, prayers, sacrifices, fasting, whatever, for some material benefit. And then there is the devotee who performs the same activities, meaning fasting or whatever, but not for the sake of getting any material result, but for the sake of pleasing Krishna. Because the devotee's desire is to do whatever pleases Krishna. So he says, okay, if in the Shastra it is recommended that on, like tomorrow is Ekadashi, I should fast on Ekadashi so that Krishna will be pleased, therefore I'll do. Now there are many benefits described for observing Ekadashi fast, etc. So somebody might observe it only for the benefit, and that's fine. Krishna says that is a starting point. Starting point for gradually bringing one up to the level where they will actually start performing those austerities, those sacrifices, those fasts to please Krishna. Because one's consciousness awakens and one says, oh, the purpose of my human life is to please Krishna. It is to please God, not to try and please myself or try and satisfy all of my material desires, because those will never be all. We can never always fulfill all of our material desires. So over here, Krishna says that a learned person should not induce them to stop work. A learned person, meaning somebody who is advanced in devotional service, advanced in devotional knowledge, he should not go to the common person and say, why are you fasting for this benefit? You should fast only to please Krishna, because the person will not understand. It's not advisable to push someone or to force someone to serve or to love Krishna. That has to come from within. It's a gradual process. It's a process of cleansing. So that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommended when we chant, then what happens? Cheto Dharman Manjanam, that the mirror of our heart, the mirror of our mind, currently it is full of dirt, material desires, expectations, attachments. But when we chant the holy names, gradually that becomes cleansed. And it's only after cleansing that we can actually start feeling some desire to please Krishna. So it's not just a switch that you can turn on and off. It's a gradual process. It's a whole process. It takes a little bit of time. So Krishna says, rather by working. So instead, Krishna says, instead of telling somebody to stop performing sacrifices for material benefit, he says, rather by working in the spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sorts of activities for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness. So Krishna says it's perfectly fine for a learned person to encourage people to, you keep doing what you're doing. You keep doing what you're doing, meaning if you're fasting, you're doing your job, you're doing so many things, keep doing them. But gradually try to understand that everything is given to us by Krishna. And so we should try to use everything in his service, but that's a gradual process. So the next verse, text 27, actually gives a very nice description of why most of us think in a materialistic way. And that verse is Prakrite Kriya Manani Gune Karmani Sarvasha Ahankar Vimudatma Kartaham Iti Manyate. So this is a very interesting verse. The translation, Ramshan Prabhu, you were actually reciting the verse. You want to please read the translation for it?
Yeah, Prabhuji.
Okay. Or were you going to read? Okay.
I think a screen is not ready, Prabhuji.
Okay, not a problem. Mahatma Jaya Prabhu, you want to read the translation for the verse, please? Text 27.
I'm bringing it up.
Okay, I couldn't follow that. Anyway, so in the interest of time, let's keep continuing. The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. This is actually a very fundamental principle that is important to understand. So here Krishna says, Prakrite Kriya Manani, Gune Karmani Sarvasha, Ahankar Vimud Atma. Ahankar Vimud Atma. So we'll start with that. Vimud means muda. Muda means foolish. So Vimuda is another way. Vimuda means bewildered, or it's our foolishness. Ahankar Vimuda. Ahankar is our sense of false ego. What is false ego? So ego is actually a basic characteristic that is there in all of us. Ego just means our sense of being, a sense of who am I. So through ego, we understand, we ask ourselves, who am I, who am I, who am I? It's our sense of that I am an individual person. Now, Vimud Atma, or meaning a person who is bewildered, thinks that I am whatever my name might be, or I am an Indian, or I am an American, or I am this person, this is my name, this is my title, this is my address, this is who I am. This is actually identifying ourselves in terms of our body. Now, Krishna says, or Shastra says, that you are actually not your body, you are the spirit soul which is residing in the body. The body keeps changing. In our own lifespan, we have seen when we were little, when we were born, we were infants, then we grew and we kept growing. We grow old, then we vanish. So the body constantly keeps changing. But the soul which is inside the body, that is not changing. Soul is the same. So, and then when a person leaves this body, the person may get another body, depending on their karma. And so Krishna says that ahankara vimud atma, that the common person thinking that, oh, I am this body, I am so and so, I am this, I am this, I am that, that person thinks that whatever kartaham iti manyate, kartaham, who is the doer, iti manyate, he thinks I am the one who's performing all these activities. I am the one who's doing things. What, in practical terms, what it means is, let's say we eat some food. When we eat food, yeah, obviously we are eating food. It is an activity that I am performing, or you are eating food, you are performing that activity. But why is it that we sit down on a chair at a table, then we cook, chapati or rice or dal, and then we eat that? Why is it that we don't just go out and climb up on a tree and just eat some insects that are walking on the tree like a bird would do or like a lizard would do? Why don't we do like that? The reason for that is what this verse is describing. The reason is we are in this human body, and this human body is controlled by the modes of material nature, the three modes, Rajagun, Satagun, and Tamagun. And it acts in a certain way, which is you like to sit down in your house on a chair and eat foods which are meant for human beings to eat. A lizard or a bird, on the other hand, will not come and sit inside a house on a chair and eat. The bird will go and sit on a branch, and or in the morning time, bird will go and sit on the grass and pick worms and eat worms. Why does the bird body do like that and the human body do work in a different way? Activity is the same. They are both eating. Why are they both eating? To satisfy their hunger. Does anybody tell us that when you're hungry, you should eat? No, it's a natural instinct. We just eat. When we are thirsty, nobody tells us when you're thirsty, you should eat. Nobody goes to school to learn that when you're thirsty, what should you do? It's a natural instinct. You drink water. Animals also, they drink water. But this natural instinct, if you will, this natural instinct of eating, for example, human beings will eat human being food, birds will eat bird food, dog will eat dog food, cat will eat cat food, cows will eat grass. These instincts are given by material nature. So this verse explains Prakriti Kriya Manani, that it is actually nature that gives us the impetus to act in a certain way. Gune karmani sarvasha, under the influence of the modes. Gune means the gunas, the modes, Rajagun, Tamagun, Satagun. But the individual thinks, oh, I am the one who's doing this, I am the one who's doing that. So what we need to understand is, or the point that's being made here, is that depending on our karma, we get a certain body. We don't have a choice. If our karma has been such that we always want to kill other animals and eat, so then law of nature says, okay, then you'll get a tiger's body. So in your next life, you can keep doing that activity. When a person gets a tiger's body, naturally it will run around in the jungle and grab animals, kill them and eat them. Suppose a person gets a human body, then they will be born in human society. They will go to, as they grow up, they go to school, they learn, they get jobs, they try to. So these types of different activities that the different bodies perform are actually dictated, these instincts are coming from the three modes of nature. Gune karmani sarvasya. So what's being referred to is the instincts that we have, the natural tendencies, the natural instincts. Where are they coming from? They're coming from nature. And dependent upon the type of body we have, the instincts that are provided are different. And we get these different types of bodies based on our karma, based on our desires in the previous life. So Krishna says, this is a point to understand, that a different karma will get us different type of bodies, and those different type of bodies will have different instincts, and they'll act according to the instincts that they acquire because of the different types of bodies. This is the law of nature. The soul in a cat or a dog or a cow or a human being, that is the same. That is, a human soul is no different from the soul that's in a cat's body. But the bodies are different. And because the bodies are different, the instincts are different, so the activities are different. So Krishna says that at a high level, just try to understand that your instincts are given to you by material nature, which is acting under my direction. And these instincts, don't think that you control these instincts. These are controlled by Mother Nature. So he says, but the spirit soul bewildered, when the person doesn't know about these facts, that the modes of nature are giving us these instincts, the person thinks, oh, I am doing all these activities, I am performing activities. So then in the next verse, Krishna says, but one who is in knowledge of the absolute truth, Almighty Arm, does not engage himself in the senses and sense gratification, knowing well the difference between work and devotion and work for fruitive results. So now just see the subtle difference between a human being and an animal. Let us say, we can take the example of a hog. The hog will always go and eat in the garbage heap. That is the natural instinct that the hog has. The human being has the ability to choose, okay, I'll eat this or I'll eat that. Today I'll eat rice, no, tomorrow I'll eat chapati, no, and third day I'll eat something else. Tomorrow's Ekadashi, I'll eat only grain, I'll not eat grains, I'll eat only vegetables and things like that. We can make these choices. Animal cannot make choices. Animal eats only what their instinct makes them want to eat. Human beings have instincts, but we also have intelligence by which we can control our instincts. The concept of fasting exists only in the human society. Only human beings can say, okay, tomorrow is a fast, I'll not eat anything, or I'll do nirjal fast, I'll not even drink a drop of water. It's your choice. You can make that choice. You can control your senses. Animal cannot do that. So Krishna says that in the human form of life, I have given you such a strong intelligence and such a strong mind that you can control your instincts if you so desire, if you so choose to. Animal will never control their instincts. They will only act on instinct. Human being has got such strong intelligence that they can control their instinct up to a certain extent. Up to a certain extent, meaning we cannot go hungry for 20 days. We'll not survive. But the point is that for one day within certain reasonable limits, human being can control their instincts. So Krishna says, when I have given you this capacity to choose, to decide what you want to do and to control your instincts, what I recommend that you do is, from the Bhagavatam we hear, the purpose of human life is tapo divyam putraka yena shuddha sattva. Meaning, the purpose of human life is actually to perform tapasya. Tapo divyam putraka. To perform tapasya. Why? So that by performing tapasya, we can learn to control our senses, control our instincts. And then what will we do by controlling our instincts and senses? Engage them in Krishna's service. Control means we make a choice. How do we want to engage our senses? So simple example, we all eat food every day. The human being has the capacity to choose that today, will I eat food that is offered to Krishna or will I eat food which is not offered to Krishna? We can choose that. We don't have to stop eating, but we can choose what type of food we eat. So the purpose is to perform activities for pleasing the Supreme Lord. The purpose of sacrifice, purpose of austerity, purpose of tapasya is to perform activities that are pleasing to the Supreme Lord so that they help us make spiritual advancement, spiritual progress. So that is the whole idea of these verses. That in the human form of life, we have the capacity to control our instincts and regulate our activities. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, he's explaining these things to him, and he's saying that the wise person understands this. So the wise person gradually introduces the idea of Krishna consciousness or working for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord to those who do not know about it. And who is the best? Why is Krishna explaining this to Arjun? Because Krishna wants the Pandavas to win the war so that the ruler, so that Yudhishthira Maharaj becomes the ruler. And when the ruler is a devotee, Raja Rishi, then whatever actions the ruler performs, common men will follow. So if the ruler is a devotee who acts in a God-conscious manner, then all the subjects, all the citizens, they will all follow devotional activities, and that way their human life will become successful. So Krishna wants to set up the society in such a manner that every person in society is benefited, not just one person, every person is benefited. And the most efficient way to accomplish that goal is by having a leader who is a devotee, and the leader sets the example and others follow. So that's why Krishna says, so as not to disrupt the minds of ignorant men attached to fruitive results, learned person should not induce them to stop. So when the king himself performs sacrifices, everybody else will perform sacrifices. When they perform sacrifices, they will try to understand, okay, why am I performing this? And so gradually, that's how they start developing an understanding for devotional service and for Krishna consciousness. And so in the Vedas, just to wrap up, in the Vedas, there are many sacrifices recommended. But the purpose of all those sacrifices is to try and understand who is God, who am I, what is my relationship with God? These three questions. So Krishna says, Vedeshcha sarver aham eva vedya. That the purpose of the Vedas is to understand me, to know me. Vedeshcha sarver, all the Vedas. The purpose is aham eva vedya, to understand me. And Krishna says, I know this because Vedanta Krit Vedavid Eva Chaham, that I am the person who's written the Vedas, I am the person who's the author of the Vedas. So Vedanta Krit, and I am the knower of the Vedas. So I know why I wrote them. Vedanta Vid Eva Chaham, that also I am. So I know the purpose of the Vedas. The Vedas were given to human society so that people could follow the instructions and come to understand who I am. So they accept me as God. When they accept me as God, they will understand that they are my servants. And when they understand I am God, you are my servant, then what will you do? You will perform devotional service to please me at all times. So these three questions are answered through the understanding of the Vedas. And so in these verses 26, 27, 28, Krishna says that when people initially start following the Vedas, they do it for fruitive activities, and intelligent people should not dissuade or should not stop others from performing Vedic sacrifices for material results, even though that is not the ultimate goal of performing those Vedic sacrifices, but you should not disrupt their minds, you should not stop them, because gradually, by following those Vedic sacrifices, rituals, performances, they will gradually come to the point where they will understand the purpose of the Vedas, which is to engage in devotional service to the Supreme Lord. Okay, so Prabhuji, Mataji, I'll stop here. It's 8:45. We can take some questions or discuss thoughts, questions, answers. Others have other comments to share. We can take those now.
Prabhuji, just a small question by my daughter.
Yes, Mother.
She was just saying that
How does the first, if every life of someone is controlled by their past life, then what is the first life controlled by?
Oh, very nice. What is the first life controlled by? So the first life was controlled by our desire to come into this material world. We wanted to come to this material world. And why did we want to come here? Because when we were in the spiritual world, we saw that Krishna is the master of nature. If he wants something, he easily gets it. He can get it. So we thought that if we go into this material world, we'll also be able to get whatever we want, whenever we want, however we want. Krishna says that's not going to happen, but we insisted. He said, no, 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 we want to go there. So then Krishna said, okay, then you go there. Then you will get caught in the cycle of birth and death. So the very first life was based on our choice to come to this material world. After that, then whatever action we perform this life, give us the next body. Then the next life, what we perform, give us the third body. Third life, what we perform, give us the fourth body, and so on.
So what actions, what's the cause of the actions that we do in the first life?
The cause of the actions is the same, meaning the three modes of nature. So when we came into this world in a human form, but the modes of nature, they dictate to us. Act like this, act like that, eat this, eat that, do this, do that. And then if a person can exercise control over the modes of nature, then they don't just follow the dictates of the modes. But if they don't exercise control, they just do what the modes tell them to do. So from the first life onwards, we have been following the dictation of the modes of material nature.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Very, very nice questions.
thank you, Prabhuji.
Other thoughts, questions, comments?
Prabhuji, I really liked how you simplified by saying that now Krishna is saying that yes, there are these three modes of material nature, but what you need to remember is don't get stuck or controlled by this because I've given you intelligence. And that intelligence comes only when you think of me. If you think of yourself, you're getting more trapped and trapped. So like these, all the four verses, like in one sentence, especially modes of material nature, because I was just thinking as you were saying, when my daughter asked, I said, because that's what is material nature. Then she asked me, did it ever exist? How did it start? I said, I don't know, you asked the question. But then as you were going through the next things, then I'm like, okay, that's how it started in the beginning, but we came and we are stuck and we are affected by these modes of all three different material nature. But still, Krishna is specifying that if you use your intelligence in the knowledge of me, like if you think of me, then you won't get stuck into the, you can be controlled by these modes of material nature. So that I could tell myself, oh, this is what, how you simplified of these 3-4 texts. I'm like, okay, this is what it is for today's summary of these 4 texts. So it's not a question, but I just felt myself how nicely you simplified it. I'm happy. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mother. Yeah, the key takeaway point is the important thing to understand. And so it's very nice that you focused on it. You know, we all have heard of the word routine, right? Routine. What does routine mean? When I say what's the routine, how would you respond to that? Everybody has a routine, right?
Sleep. Eat, work, sleep. Eat, work, sleep.
Eat, work, sleep. Yeah. See? Routine, habit. We just get into that. Just keep repeating that over and over again. And Prabhupada explained this so nicely, and it was such an eye-opener because I was watching a video of Prabhupada, or actually this was not a video of Prabhupada, but of memories of Prabhupada. So there was this very famous big businessman from Bombay, and he was remembering, and he said Prabhupada was sitting with me, and this is on the topic of routine, right? Which relates to this verse 327, Prakriti Kriya Manani, Gune Karmani Sarvasa. So this businessman, he he's very rich and very well-known person in Bombay. And so he went to take darshan of Prabhupada. Prabhupada asked him, so how do you spend your day? And so this gentleman replied, he said, well, I get up in the morning, I take my, tea, my bed tea, this thing, that thing, then I get ready. Then I go to the office. Since I've got so many businesses and I'm very busy. And so all day I'm working the office, I lunch there, this, that. Then I come back home, I'm tired, I eat my dinner, maybe a little bit of entertainment or some friends come or I go there, whatever, and go to sleep. And then next day, so Prabhupada said, next day, he says, same thing. Next day, same thing. So then Prabhupada said, okay, this is what you're doing. And see, Prabhupada had the ability to ask people or he could say things very bluntly and nobody would mind. So Prabhupada said, okay, his name was Mr. Kapoor, then what is the difference between you and a pig? Now we would be shocked by that. Prabhupada being so rude, right? But of course, Mr. Kapoor had a lot of respect for Prabhupada. Prabhupada asked him, so what's the difference between you and a pig? And so this person said, I didn't know how to answer that. And Prabhupada said, there's no difference. And Prabhupada's point was that this is, if a human being does only, activities that are related to survival, just eating, going to work, coming back, resting, eating, this thing, that's all. Then what is the difference between us and human being and an animal? Animals. But the point is that the difference is that the human being has been given intelligence to do more than just surviving, more than just earning money, more than just going from one day to the next, to the next, to the next, where there's no difference between one day and the next day. And so that point Prabhupada was making is that as a human being, you have to question, why am I doing what I'm doing? What is the purpose of my life? What can I do with my human life? And Prabhupada said the purpose of human life is to stop the cycle of birth and death. Now that we have come into this material world, now we have to stop the cycle of birth and death by using our intelligence, engaging in Krishna service, and that will take us out of the cycle of birth and death. So breaking the routine, in common terms, in everyday terms, breaking the routine is kind of the point that these verses are making.
Prabhuji, you mentioned two shlokas for you. Tapo Divyam, that's from Srimad Bhagavatam, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a number that I can?
I can give you the number. Meanwhile, we can take other questions.
And also the other one, you said Vedeshta Sarve. I know it's from Bhagavad Gita, but I couldn't immediately remember.
Yeah, Vedeshta Sarve Raham Eva Vedyo. So Sarvasya Cham Hiddhi Sanivishtu. That is 15:15, I think.
Yeah, Prabhuji, that is 15:15.
15:15.
Sarvasya chaham hirdesana vishto matah smriti jnanam apohanam cha वेदाश्च सर्वैरहमेव वेद्यो वेदान्तकृतवेदविदेव च.
Very
Thank
nice.
you, Prabhuji.
And that other verse, 219, that is Srimad Bhagavatam, so it's 551, Canto 5, verse 5, text 1. Text 1. Canto 5, chapter 5, verse 1.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah. All right. Other thoughts or questions, comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu.
Prabhuji, just want to share that while we were reading the verses, there was a verse where it says that a self-realized person does not, sorry, I don't have it in front of me, that they do not disturb one who is engaged in material activities. So it just made me think that not everyone like can think of the Lord 24/7. Only the pure devotees can do that.
Right.
But still, the pure devotees mercifully gave us a chance to serve the Lord from where we are, and whatever little we can do, and that way
Right.
we can receive the Lord's mercy through them, even though we may not be able to constantly think of the Lord, but through the Guru Parampara, we get a chance to become closer to the Lord.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so that is, you said it very accurately. That is the role of the wise person. So the guru or the elevated devotees, for example, they are 24/7 engaged in the service of the Lord. And they, by their instructions, by their guidance, by their mercy, by their caring and compassionate attitude towards us, they help us understand these instructions of the Shastra, like Prabhupada has done. Prabhupada has given us the purports, translations, everything to help us understand what the Shastra says, so that we may also try to engage our activities and our mind in the service of Krishna, and gradually keep increasing our immersion in the service of Krishna. It starts off with, we may immerse ourselves maybe half a percentage point in a day. Then it'll increase to maybe 1%, 2%, 5%, 6%, 20%. It gradually, it keeps increasing. But their instructions, their guidance, and the association of devotees, interaction with devotees like we're doing now, we're sitting together, we are all trying to glorify the Lord, trying to understand the Lord's instruction, we try and do this together. These types of activities increase our immersion in Krishna consciousness. So very good, valid, nice point, Narasimhan Prabhu. Thank you so much. All right, Prabhuji, Mataji, Ramchan Prabhu, anything else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I was on and off, Prabhuji. So same time work was going on. So still I was don't have and much, Prabhuji. I was just listening. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, Mataji, Prabhuji, if anybody else has any other question, otherwise we'll stop here.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Sir. So just one quick thing I want to say. Actually, next Wednesday, the 6th, Wednesday in the evening, if you all have time, I'm actually here. We will be doing a Zoom class through the Atlanta temple. And the topic that I've been given to speak on is, we are doing a series on the 12 Mahajans. So I'll be speaking on Bhishma Dev. We'll be glorifying the activities of Bhishma Dev. That is next Wednesday at 7 o'clock, 7 to 8 in the evening. So they have that every Wednesday. So my turn is coming next Wednesday, the 6th. So if you all have time and if it's possible, please join. I'll send Mukta Sangha Prabhu the Zoom credentials and all that. So then he can share it with you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. We will
Yeah,
share.
Prabhuji.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Panchakalpatarubhyascha.
Jagabdhurvascha ke paas dube vacha patitanam.
Pitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namah.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
jai. Thank you all.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, thank you for
Hare
your
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.